Hello and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Headline, the show where we talk about matters pertaining to India's internal security and issues related to global geopolitical matters, which somehow are also connected to India. And the topic that we are going to talk about today is how US has now said that India is no more an ally but a greater power in terms of geopolitical sphere. And joining me as always is our senior correspondent Vicky Nanchappa. Vicky, welcome to Beyond the Headline.
Thanks, Prakash. Thanks.
So Vicky, now the US has come out and said this thing that India is no more an ally but a greater power. So first of all, how do you read into what US has said? Because ever since I can remember, India has always been an ally to the United States, and all of a sudden there is this huge shift in the outlook towards India. So how do you see this?
See, first and foremost, you can say that both India and US have come out of those distances and suspicions that, arose after 1947 when India refused to align itself. Over the period of years, then, our alignment was more towards Russia all the time. That is one, which was a superpower at that time. But over the years, it has really evolved, considering, we have developed at such a fast pace and things like that. Basically, I would say we are not a country that can be ignored anymore, Prakash. We play a very, very important role in geopolitics. We are a major defense buyer. So, all those things. And so that is what I would say is, what has evolved actually. And also, we, took a very neutral stance, and in the sense, we always condemned the war which was happening in Russia. But you see that last month, okay, just a week before the G20 summit in Bali, actually, our foreign minister had visited Moscow, okay, and one thing. And we were also purchasing Russian oil, and the US refused to sanction us for that S-400 deal with Russia also at that time. So these are all indicators that, that we reserve a right to have our own foreign policy, and we are no longer going to be dictated by any country on what line we should toe and what to do. And we have become a very, very important player in the global scale.
True, Vicky. And when we talk in terms of USA, and we all know that what the US says and what US do are two different things. So do you see that this kind of pushing India, saying that it is a greater power, and just when you know that there is another greater power in this hemisphere, which is China. So is this kind of a statement coming out of the US? Do you read that it is more to play on that psychological game of Xi Jinping, who, to be very precise, has just gone and met with the Saudi Arabian crown prince after Saudi Arabia actually snubbed the United States of America for crude oil. So how do you witness this?
See, actually, if you see the Biden administration, I think it was in July, I think, or I'm not getting the month exactly. They had released that national security strategy, in which it was very clearly emphasized on India's centrality in America's Indo-Pacific strategy. So that is why, when the visit by Dr. Jaishankar happened to Russia also, I mean, at least, we were all very confident that although US may not like our proximity to Russia, but it has to accept it, because the bigger problem for the United States today is the rising China, basically. And, you need big countries like us on your side if you want to, deal with China and, all those things that they keep doing on the border, and, the kind of global bullying that they have been doing that. So it is, I would say the partnership is natural. Also, if you see that for 10 days, Dr. Jaishankar was in New York and Washington. We had bilaterals, multilaterals, trilaterals, okay? And so all this tells a story that, we are also, when it comes to our foreign policy, the thing is, we have that, first mover advantage today, and the world is more dependent on us. I mean, I'm not saying we're not dependent at all, but, it's no longer the thing where US issues certain statements, that you're religious. These irritants are there, but on a larger scale, if you look at it, then if you see, as earlier I'd said that we are not a country which can be ignored actually, and also public opinion in both the countries have changed dramatically. And there was a poll which was the Gallup poll which was conducted earlier this year, said 77% of Americans have a favorable view of India. So last year, 79% of Indians had a favorable image of the United States. Okay. So never before have we seen this kind of strong support, not only from the the political circles, but even from the people. So the views towards both the countries have actually changed dramatically. Actually, I don't think that would have been the figure a couple of years back. Further, also, you have to look at it. India is also a major defense partner for the United States, and they are more aligned. The kind of military drills that we conduct with each other. That is more aligned on the military front. Also, the defense collaborations, that is bilateral information serving. This one, information sharing, operational cooperations, coordinations, are all working together. To build a stronger regional security architecture out here. So then, on those terms, if you look at it, it is not sudden, and I wouldn't say that I wouldn't suspect the US, of having. I mean, everybody has interests in bilateral ties, so that is one thing. But this fact is that from allied to global power, which the kind of foreign policy that we have been doing, the way US talks about. Like, I'll give you a small example. Actually, I remember when. The Queen passed away, and also the former Japanese president Shinzo Abe. A person actually had come down from US, and he says, "You guys are doing a great job out of your foreign policy." A CNN ran a segment where top world leaders pay tributes to the Queen as well as Shinzo Abe, and your prime minister was at three. Okay, that is one. So you see the kind of I'm sorry, not three. It was in the top five, basically. You just see the kind of the recognition that India has started getting. Yes, there is definitely a very vested group there within the US, who would like to always call out for our religious freedom and meddle with all these kind of efforts. But those are irritants, and they keep getting dealt on certain platforms. But overall, we're not a country that the world can ignore anymore.
Exactly, and with India now, going has the presidency of the G20, and we have seen so many, summits happening. So, what is India's role now? Now, G20 is one thing. Let's be honest about it. It is a yearly thing. Every year it keeps on changing. But yes, this year is India's. So, 2023, it is going to be India who's going to be the presidency of G20, and with all those summits happening, and we also had the NSA summit just a few days ago, where all the NSAs met of the G20 countries. So India, when it comes to geopolitics and to global military might, where do you see India after what US has said? Because we are, if I'm not wrong, the third biggest army in the world.
Yeah, that's that's right. I mean, I only see this, growing stronger and stronger. The thing is that, the way, when our prime minister speaks or a foreign minister speaks outside, they kind of instill a sense of pride. When he goes and says that, uh, Europe, why should Europe be everybody else's problem? That is one. So, basically, it is kind of a thing like, you're not going to go to a bilateral and sit quiet. You're going to call out, you're going to say things that, you don't like. You're going to hold a mirror to the West, basically. That is one. And also, Akash, if you notice that, this year itself, we've had three major global terror conferences which happened in India. At that time, I remember we were discussing on that, and then I said that at that time that, until 9/11 happened, the US never acknowledged that there could be a problem of terror out here. That is one. But here, after that, when they started acknowledging it and they see the way that we have fought this problem and continue to fight this problem, it's like a way of telling the world is that you have to learn lessons from us now. Basically, that is one thing. It is not about we going and seeking this one. This, it has to grow globally. There's so many challenges also which are happening. Like cyber terror, and terror has gone online to such an extent. Propaganda, radicalization messages, all that. So, this cooperation between these two countries also becomes very, very important on that front. It's just that, and also US Senate themselves, in September, they had called for a stronger defense partnership with India. United States not only wants us to play a role in the Indo-Pacific, but also a larger role in South, Central, and Southeast Asia. Okay, so that is the thing what they want for us, and it is only benefiting us, I would say.
Correct, Vicky. And the China factor, that always comes in when it comes to the US, and we just, had this conversation also. So with China now, trying to expand, now looking away from the US, and trying to go into the Middle East, and that kind of a politics what China is playing, and we know that there is going to be a huge amount of deals that would be signed between Saudi Arabia and China, and of course oil is also one of the biggest reasons why. So now the US coming in and now saying that India is a greater power, that somehow will affect India and China's relationship, which are very, on to be very honest, is on a very thin ice right now.
No, it may be on thin ice, but you know what? The thing is, at least when it comes to dealing with China, we have our own independent policy. That is one. Okay, we have our own. I don't think someone can come meddle and uh, further the tensions out there. Whatever said and done, the thing is, we've had a standoff. I mean, there's been a standoff there for almost 2.5 years now. There was a very unfortunate incident when the Galwan clash happened. Okay, one thing, and we lost many soldiers at that time. But China did lose more, but they have a policy of not, putting out the count. So that is one thing. Since then, what has happened is the tensions have been. I mean, it's not right, as our foreign minister says. The relationships are definitely not right. But we continue to engage with them and talk with them on different levels. Debate. We have these military commander level talks. You have diplomatic talks and things.
And even PM Modi briefly met Xi on the sidelines of the G20.
That is also true. That is also true. So I would see that US does have a bigger problem with China. I know that because there is also China is a growing power, and they would not want that. And China's other problem is that we are a growing power in this region, and they would be like to be known as the largest powers in this particular region at least. And they are also looking at the world. So at that time, I look at it this way: is that the US needs us a bit more on the China front now. Whereas when it comes to China, because they are our immediate neighbor out there, so we have a independent policy, and I think this government will be able to handle that. It is a nagging problem. It's a very nagging and dragging problem, I would say. But we have our own ways of dealing with China, and we will keep talking, and then that's we'll make sure that it is resolved sooner or later.
True, Vicky. So let's hope for the best for the future. As US has said that India is now a greater power and not just an ally. So I hope that it remains the same. The status quo remains the same. Well, on that note, thank you very much, Vicky, for joining me on Beyond the Headlines and sharing your time with us.
Subscribe to One India channel and never miss an update.